My God.
Yeah! Gave him a shout out, man. He went from nobody to somebody.
Yeah, just like we're trying to do.
Nobody to somebody.
Welcome to Third Thoughts. Today is Wednesday, October the 10th. My name is Clay. I am your host. This is a special edition of Third Thoughts only because it's happening 2 hours earlier than it's supposed to.
The hurricane.
There's a big announcement.
The hurricane
podcast today.
No.
There's no big announcement concerning the podcast. So we're going live 2 hours early so we can fit this in our day.
At the end of the
We
podcast,
hope
there is a huge announcement coming.
there's no huge announcement coming. Oh my gosh. Welcome. If you're listening live on Spreaker, if you were able to jump on right now, we appreciate that. If you're jumping on later, if you log on at 2 p.m. and see this already posted, you can listen then. Of course, if you're listening even later than that, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you choose to consume audio content, we're there. You can find us. We're here and you're there now, so let's talk about the news a little bit. I forgot to introduce everybody. I'm live with the Chief himself in the flesh. I'm live with RNDY.
What's up?
And we're here. We had a good show Monday. If you missed Third and Long, it's at it's a little bit before noon. We went about 11 o'clock on Monday.
The whole job thing sometimes is difficult.
Yep. When you have other things to do, just fit the podcast in.
Yes.
wherever you need to do it.
Thus, a huge announcement coming at the end of.
Anyway, so we had a good show. Third and Long is our sports podcast. Happens on Mondays before noon. So not too early, but not late either. If you want to jump on there and talk about college football with us, we appreciate that. It's a good time. But this is Third Thoughts. This is not about sports. This is about current events. And there is one particular current event that is taking over the news. This is the tough part about doing the kind of show that we do.
It's on the news?
Yeah. The tough part about doing the show that we do.
The Canadian Loch Ness Monster has taken over the news?
No. It hasn't.
Oh, I thought that's what you were talking about.
No.
That's the biggest story.
It's not. I think that Hurricane Michael might be a bigger story at the moment.
Oh, yeah. I
It's-
thought you were talking about Kavanaugh.
No. That I'm over that. Kavanaugh is done for.
Hey, the only thing we need to mention. Did you see this segment on Kimmel?
No.
They went around and they were asking people if this is Columbus Day, so Kimmel was talking about Columbus Day. So they went out to the public and they asked people what they thought about Donald Trump's new Supreme Court nominee, Christopher Columbus. And people, without a beat, they approved, disapproved, but they didn't. Either they're just, I'm not really sure what happened, but
How can you be that disconnected?
I know, right? Kimmel made a good point. We learned about three historical American figures, top, foremost: George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Christopher Columbus. And these people, that's what's wrong. I mean, I don't want to go like on a diatribe about this, but that's really what's wrong is the civic nature of people is just.
Yeah, no, I'm done with Kavanaugh. I'm tired of it. I'm over it. He's there. He did it. He didn't do it. I don't know. Doesn't matter because he's on the Supreme Court now. So that story's over with.
So you just gave a Freudian slip as to what you think happened. You said he did it.
The story with Kavanaugh is only beginning.
Well, I think the thing is it's just part of a larger narrative of
A conspiracy by the Clintons.
no, it's just the trash situation that we're in with our political system. No, the big story right now, let me freaking give condolences to people that are about to be hit. Okay? Y'all keep interrupting. Category 4 hurricanes, it pretty much popped up out of nowhere. I don't know that I've ever seen one move that quickly. Like a few days ago, it was Tropical Depression 14 out there in the Caribbean and just became Michael and has gotten massive and extremely powerful almost overnight. Literally changed categories overnight like twice.
Yes.
So very, very scary storm, very defined eye wall. I was looking at, of course, I was looking at Twitter and weather.com and those kinds of things. And we're up North Georgia, so it's not, it's never really, hurricanes sometimes get to us and it causes problems, but it's never like a dire, like we need to evacuate kind of thing. But I keep up with it anyway because I just find it interesting. And they were saying, several meteorologists were saying that this is, if you looked at it just on the radar, it's one of those classic, like, looks like a Cat 5 buzzsaw kind of hurricane. But now with the technology, we can fly the planes into it and stuff and actually get the wind. It's still a Cat 4. And the pressure in the middle is crazy too. But yeah, if you didn't know, this is probably one of the worst storms ever to hit the panhandle of Florida. And it's actually, I think it's the worst one since like the 1800s that they know about.
Since they've been recording it, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
1850s.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no joke. Panama City Beach, the place we've all been to and frequent.
We own property at.
Yeah, Destin, even further inland, Tallahassee, a place close to our heart, and then Columbus, Georgia, which is where Randy is from, which is, like I said, a little more inland, but still, it's supposed to remain a Category 1 hurricane until it gets to about Macon. Middle of Georgia there. So no joke. People on the coast definitely need prayers and support as they go through this stuff and as they recover.
Clay has a couch for you if you need it.
Look, if you lose your home, you can sleep on my couch.
That's pretty big.
And I don't like that. But if seriously, I mean this stuff's wild. So if you're able to help out as this thing goes through, and if you're able to support them, reach out the same way. Hopefully you were able to with Florence over in the Carolinas. I think Michael may top Florence.
Yeah. Well, it's going to hit those people too.
Yeah,
people that haven't
the
recovered,
rain is going
it's
back
keep
over
going,
there,
which is horrific.
Before it goes back into the Atlantic. So anyway, I know that we're not like a real news source, but I did want to talk about Michael just for a minute because I think that's important to make sure we're praying for those people and helping them out when they go through these things. I can't imagine having to evacuate my home, everything I have, to escape a storm, and then maybe get back in a month, maybe.
Yeah,
depending on how bad it is.
We still have another month and a half of hurricane season to go.
Sure.
Is there any articles blaming Trump for this one?
I'm pretty sure this one's Al Gore's fault.
Well, I will. It's funny you bring that up because I've seen more about climate change, and this probably happens every year, because of how intense hurricane season tends to be. Mm-hmm. Especially the past few years have been kind of insane, right? Yeah. I think I'm more aware of it, like probably since Katrina, which I know was 2004, but that's just me growing up and being aware of the weather elsewhere. But I think also like last year in particular was one of the worst seasons ever. And 2018's trying to make a run for the championship, it seems like. So I haven't seen a lot about climate change.
I mean, it just kept the water in the Gulf is still so warm.
Yeah,
I mean that's what's feeding the storm is that warm water. And yeah, I mean, and until Al Gore started talking about it, none of this stuff happened.
It does seem like that. I mean, there's a lot of coverage on it, and I heard another podcast host yesterday, I believe, talking about it, and I won't name the show; it doesn't matter. But he made a good point about it that it really is hard to know what climate change really is and how it's going to change down the road when we can't even accurately predict rain in the next 3 days.
Right. I mean, you have these guys. Segueing off of this, the 91 leading scientists from 40 countries, they culled together 6,000 scientific studies. It was the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and they released this report, which, of course, Trump is already questioning who are these people to come out with this report. Sure. But they're saying within 20 years, so they're saying, well, a little more, as early as 2040, that there are going to be catastrophic changes to the climate, and that they're calling for us to make changes now. But a lot of changes have been reversed with Trump pulling out of the Paris Accords, with Trump. Well,
okay, let me bring this up because this guy also said yesterday that it's something I hadn't really thought about it this way. But the Earth has been here a long time.
Yes.
Okay. Wherever you fall in your belief system, whether you think it's 6,000 years old or if you think it's however many millions, whatever you think, regardless, that's a long time either way. Far longer than we can really imagine in our minds. Far longer than a weather balloon or a temperature chart or anything like that. You know, I don't know that climate change very well may be real and very well may be happening. If that's the case, and if it's as bad as these scientists say it is, then changing things for the next 10 years doesn't do anything.
Correct.
If the climate is so catastrophic now, if it's headed for that in 3 to 4 years, there's nothing we can do in 3 to 4 years to fix it. This is a problem that has, I mean, from before then, but the Industrial Revolution, I mean, we're talking about releasing pollution stuff into the atmosphere, and the Earth is old, man, and it goes through cycles. And we've seen it. You know, we had the data on the ice ages and stuff. That, I mean, if it's warmer and it's colder, and we've added a lot of crap to that. I have no doubt that we pollute the Earth. But if it's this bad, the changes in the Paris Accords make no difference in the next 3 to 4 years. If it's going nuclear, you know what I mean? Like if it's going catastrophic.
Yeah, but they're not saying 3 to 4 years. They're saying 20, and they're giving the.
Even that, think about 20 years in reference to. Let's say
I know
6,000.
No, I don't believe what is,
but you know what I mean. But still, even if that's what you,
nobody listening to the show probably believes in young Earth creationism. Or the flat Earth.
What happens? What is happening is self-adjustment. One way or the other, it's going to happen. Whether the climate goes berserk and people die, or whether we suddenly decide we want to save the Earth, so we cut loose of all the cheap energy. That still creates a population adjustment.
Yeah,
you can't go backwards in technology and still support the population that's on the Earth. You can't keep going forward the way we are.
No, we're not.
Still support the population on the Earth. There's a population adjustment happen. It's like a market correction. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
If there's not a correction, then the next cause will be starvation. But you just can't keep increasing the population on a fixed, inside of a fixed parameter set, and expect things to go on as they always have. You put more people, it demands more food, it demands more energy, it demands more of everything. So the only way to fix that is to return the population size to where it was when it was able to sustain itself. That's either going to come through climate change or through just simply saying, hey, you know what? No fossil fuels anymore. We're not going to burn any fossil fuels, which crushes society as we know it. You can't transport food over long distances. You can't transport medicine over long distances because we don't have another sustainable energy form. Yeah. We don't have it.
Well, I mean, I will say this. I'm all for alternative stuff. I mean, I think solar is great. I think nuclear is great. I think the wind power, I mean, all the things are awesome. And I think we definitely need to continue researching those things and using those things as much as we can. My whole point with it is, if it's this far, it's almost like you find out about it. Well, it's like finding out about Hurricane Michael 25 minutes before it hits.
Right.
Like you can't get out of there. I mean, there's no way out. Like at that point, you just have to take it as it comes.
So we have a little moderation from Clay, and we have straight out theology based on the theology of Thanos right here to my right. Well, population reduction by snapping. Look, like I mean, I'm with y'all. Like I think we have to be moderate. I think we have to begin to invest in these other technologies. I mean, and I agree. There's probably some of the good scientific arguments account for the fact that the climate changes naturally. I think we cause that to be exponential, probably. But I mean, I'm with you. I think we just can't wholesale stop using fossil fuels. That's one of these things we're trying to reduce them and set benchmarks for the future as we develop better technology. But no, I mean, there's nothing we can do. And the population, I mean, if we and it's not going to happen, if we as the world were to divert resources and try to provide people with food, you said before you thought we could feed everybody feasibly if we dedicated the resources. Now, in terms of where you're going to put that many people, I mean,
right.
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that I don't mean to be fatalistic about it, because I don't think it's just like, well, can't do anything about it. Might as well just burn more coal and stuff, throw trash in the ocean. Like, I'm not saying that there's no reason to not work towards these things, but I'm also saying that there's no reason to be I'm losing the word, but there's no reason for reporting to be so feverish,
dire.
Yeah, just ridiculous. Like,
well, they want us to change,
catastrophic.
Yeah,
like,
they want us to change, though, and I think sometimes it takes that. I mean,
I just like to preserve words like catastrophic for, I don't know, massive hurricanes that are about to hit,
caused by climate change.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I like the overall thing, like, we're probably all going to be here in 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like thinking we're going to be gone. I just think for our kids and our kids' kids.
Sure.
I mean,
the legacy is important. I think then we need to work toward it. I don't like the fever pitch.
Yeah.
Version of journalism.
I mean, a lot of science says the world's going to just go up into a big ball anyways, and that's like, you have these scientists that write these things, and you have Christian theologians who come behind them, and they're trying to like comport that with Scripture. And what does that say? What does that mean?
Sure. If
the world's going this way, and it's very interesting. I mean, that's not what we're talking about today, but it's a very interesting topic.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, the simple fact of the matter is you can't change. Mm-hmm. People can say we need to change all we want to, but there is no method for change. You can scream change, 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 all you want to scream change. But when America is feeding a good portion of the world, you can't reduce fossil fuels.
Yeah, it really is a turning the Titanic kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. There is, at this point, cheap energy created this crisis.
Yeah.
It's created the health crisis. It's created, if there is a true environmental change happening, you know, if global warming is a real thing, you know, then, yeah, it's cheap energy. That's what has done it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're using more and more of it now.
Right. And, you know, there is no return with the current system of thinking. There is no return from that. It's going to run out sooner or later.
Yeah.
And that's when change will have to happen, but that's going to come with, you know, population reduction.
Right.
It's the Paris Accord, you know, those things are great, but, you know, there's no system to make it better.
Yeah, well, there's no enforcement. You can't make everybody follow that. Even if we sign it, you can't.
Well, okay, I'm talking about everybody that signs it. If everybody signs it and says we're going to do this, somebody in the world is affected by it.
Right. Yep.
I mean, people still have to go to work. Mm. We still have to transport food because it's the way that it is. Because the system has become what it is. You still have to transport medication because the system has become what it is. These creating and feeding everybody, it's not a 8 or 10 year change. It's a systematic change in the way we think, train, and educate, starting with those that haven't even been born yet.
Yeah. Well, that's why I bring up how old the planet is, but also how old civilization is. I mean, it's taken a long time for us to get where we are now. I think it becomes confusing because of how quickly technology progresses today. Mm-hmm. But this has been hundreds of years in the making, really, when you look back through, if you go back Industrial Revolution, you go back to those things, and I mean, it's taken us a long time to become the society we are now. We can't expect to change that in much less time.
Yeah,
I put it that way. I do think it will be less time. I think
it will.
It does take less time to turn it now because of how advanced
technology is.
But there are a lot of people, a lot of credible people that say the damage is already done.
No, it's too late.
Yeah,
even if we stopped if we stopped greenhouse gases, if we stopped those things, it's beyond repair.
Yeah, it'll never be where it was or where it should. I mean, the only hope we have is the rapid advancement of technology. I mean, I think you're right. The problem is we're addicted to using fossil fuels. I mean, when we walked by the other day, I don't know if you guys remember, we were at a conference, Catalyst Conference in Atlanta. We walked by and saw some electric car pumps or the electric car chargers.
Yeah.
I said to the guys, I've never seen a car actually plugged into one of those. I saw like 2. That's probably literally of all the outlets I've ever seen. I've only ever seen 2 cars plugged into them.
Well, it goes back to cheap energy though, because that hybrid car or that fully electric car is more expensive than the gas car.
Okay, but here's the thing. This is what people need to understand. You go and you buy your Prius, and you roll up and you feel good about yourself plugging it in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. But you haven't solutioned the problem at all, because what you just plugged into, that electricity is being provided by cheap energy.
It could be hydroelectric. It could be coal. You're right. I mean, it could be any number of things.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's an infrastructure thing. I mean, it's
right. It's going to be. It's a long-term thing, and obviously that's why they're setting these benchmarks, is to try to make sure it doesn't get out of control. Sure. I mean, it's like with kids. We set small boundaries to start with, and then we have to go nuclear, is what I call it, like the nuclear option, and that's taking away the kid's game system for X number of hours. But I mean, I think we got to try.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we need to try. What I don't agree with is, well, we've had 2 Cat 4s and a Cat 5 this year, so it must be because Trump didn't sign the Paris Accords and the world's hotter.
No, you can't.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you can't do that.
And that kind of reporting is just like,
no, you can't do that.
No.
I mean, like, no. I had a conversation with somebody the other day. We were talking about how presidents affect the economy. And they're just like, oh, Trump has made the economy so amazing. I said, well, hold on a second. You realize that, like, the actions take time to trickle down, what he does in the market. The only thing, I mean, I will say the perception of the stock market, that changes based pretty quickly. But the rest of the financial sector, that's a trickle-down thing. That takes a while for a president to affect. It's the same principle.
Sure. And I just think
spread out longer.
I think it's a symptom of putting too much hope or too much distress on one person.
Yeah, for sure.
As if one single human being. It's a powerful position, don't get me wrong, but as if one single human being really controls this small things, but not like the entire course of everything.
Right.
I think you can only say that about very few presidents, and probably those presidents that were in the world wars.
Well,
it's the only ones that you can really credit for, like,
right,
actually steering the ship in a different course entirely.
Was it you that said, somebody said the other day, presidents don't legislate anyways, unless they step around it, which Obama started a precedent for with presidential declarations. But presidents don't make laws.
Right.
They sign laws to act. They sign the laws. So, I mean, we have to be careful how much, I went and read a lot about this, and it confirmed, I mean, I know that the president does affect somewhat, but it's not as big as people would think it would be.
Sure.
So, I mean, things that happened 3 presidents ago are, still messing with us now.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's a...
Well, if you really want to look at it that way, too, stuff FDR did.
Yeah, the social programs for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, that stuff is still trickling down because those things are bigger than a person. Right. Those are decisions that were made as a result of, one person's pen hit the paper and signed off on it, but those were made by multiples of people. And if you really want to break it all the way down, made by the voters.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, I don't know how we got there, but you had an interesting story, Chief, about what you thought might be the biggest story of all time.
Oh, yeah, I've already said it, though. That's all I had.
So it made another appearance. You brought it up on the show before.
The Loch Ness Monster?
I think so.
No, I haven't brought that up before.
You never brought that up on the show?
No, it's brand new. It just happened last week. after the show.
I swear you brought up a Loch Ness Monster before.
Yeah, but it wasn't on the show. It was just us talking.
No, I mean on the show is what I'm saying. Are you sure you've never reported a story like this?
Yes.
Did I?
Did we talk about Bigfoot, maybe? I think we talked about Bigfoot.
I did not even know that there was a Canadian Loch Ness Monster.
So technically isn't a Loch Ness Monster then.
No, it's Ogopogo.
Are you sure we haven't talked? I feel like we have.
We talked about Bigfoot, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you and I talked about this last week.
Right. No. I mean like shows and shows ago. I think we had a story.
There have been 3 sightings of this thing in the last 3 weeks.
Okay.
In Lake
Can you pronounce the Canadian lakes?
Okanagan.
Okanagan.
It's
Related.
just outside Kelowna.
I don't know where that is. Is that where's
British
Kelowna?
Columbia.
Yeah, it's related to Lake Shenanigan.
But it's been caught on video by some people having a picnic. And obviously, since I read this story last, 2 other people have also sighted the Ogopogo.
So what brings Ogopogo to the surface? Warmer ocean
Global
water?
warming.
That's what I was going to say. Like why would he all of a sudden just be like, yo, I'm here?
Yeah, well, it probably was an eel, but something about
How big can eels be?
Well, now we don't know because we're living in different climate conditions.
Well, I did read a story though where the warmer ocean water is making more species poisonous. So I guess maybe it can make them bigger too.
Sure, why not?
I can see that. Warm water makes sense.
Anything can be anything if enough media attention is given to it.
Sure. What about, okay, that's a good segue to what I read today that really struck me is this about the Google Assistant? You heard the Google Assistant has a backstory.
No, but I've seen the videos of the Google Assistant.
Yeah. So the new Google Assistant, they've been working on Google Assistant for a while, right? You say, okay, Google, and it does whatever, just like Siri or
Hey,
Alexa.
Google.
Yeah. So now it's Google Assistant, but the thing about it is it now has personality to the point where it will joke with you. And Siri did some jokes like back in, they've been doing that. Apple's been doing that. But now Google has taken it a step further. And the assistant itself, the reason it responds and reacts and takes your phone calls and schedules appointments in a certain way is because it actually has an identity. It has a story.
Does it learn its identity from us as we interact with it?
No. Well, it does learn. It learns things about you, but it already has its own identity. So here's the thing. It's kind of a misnomer to say that the assistant itself has an identity because it's just it's just program, right? It's just it's code.
Yeah.
But the actress, the person who provided the voice, she's from Colorado, which is chosen because it's a region that lacks a distinctive accent. Okay? So you want to clear, right? She's the youngest daughter of a research librarian and physics professor. Yikes. She has a BA in art history from Northwestern. She won $100,000 on the kids' version of Jeopardy. And she used to work as a personal assistant to a very popular late-night satirical pundit.
So she's liberal.
Oh, and she enjoys kayaking. So all of these things she was chosen specifically to give that identity to the Google Assistant to make it act and respond and think a certain way. It's funny because now it seems like the assistant has now taken on this identity, but there's a larger story too. Is that I was reading another story called "Is Alexa Dangerous?" and how now the AI is advancing so fast, and we were talking about technology.
Yeah, they
advancing
put it
fast.
in a microwave.
Yeah, but now it's collecting so much. We talk about collecting data a lot, right? That's a pretty prominent topic here. But it's learning personal data, and it's helping you do things. Now the Google Assistant will even answer. Have you seen the new call screening?
Mm-mm.
Now when someone calls you, you can set a certain amount of parameters. If it's a number you don't know, if from a certain area, it will screen the call and say, "Hi, this is the Google Assistant. The person you're trying to reach has me set up. Go ahead and say your name and what you're calling about, and they'll receive a copy of this conversation." And will actually screen your call for you. I mean, and that might not seem like a big deal to you. Like if you're listening, you're like, what? That seems pretty cool. And it is.
Yeah.
It is until you don't have to set parameters anymore.
Right.
Okay?
Have you
It's cool as long as you're in control of it. But when the assistant goes, you probably don't need to talk to your cousin right now, and there's an emergency happening on the other end, you know what I mean? Like, where's the line?
The technology takes over. Have you seen the movie Upgrade? Did you ever go see it?
No.
Okay, it was kind of a low budget movie, and there's a little bit of language in it, but it's absolutely amazing in relation to this. The technology, I can't really give it. The technology ends up taking over the situation. This guy gets injured, and he has an implant put into his back to help him walk again.
Yeah.
And at first, he begins to give it commands, but then it becomes very interesting. Really good parable for what we're talking about.
Sure.
So if you haven't seen it, it's a great movie.
Yeah, I'd like to watch that.
87% on Rotten Tomatoes. I just happened
It's
to
called
go,
Upgrade?
Upgrade, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't even know anybody in it, but it's just
Like one of those like a look into what's happening.
Yeah, it's kind of it's an interesting movie. I mean, I really liked it. There's some good action scenes in it, and
so I mean, Chief, you're kind of like a conspiracy theorist. You know,
Kind of.
Well, how do you feel? I mean, I know you have an Alexa at home, right?
Yeah, well, I brought this up a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And what put me onto it was this thing. I'm not going to say the name of it, but there was a video where these guys were sitting around. They were asking Alexa questions, and they asked questions about Islam, and Alexa gave answers.
Yeah.
When they asked about Jesus Christ, the answer was Jesus Christ is a fictional character.
Yeah.
Well, that created a lot of stir in the Christian community. So now when you ask, it actually gives you the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
It's changed its answer now. Because of public outrage.
Really?
Yeah, so it's modified its behavior. Now, they may have went in and hard-coded that. I don't know. But yeah, here's the thing. All of this technology is being developed by predominantly liberal companies. And there is a liberal bias to the AI. And part of that is because conservatives are not aggressive in those particular fields. But it will rain down effects on people over the course of time. Yeah. Don't let AI parent your children. Don't let it make your choices for you, because that's where we're headed.
Well, yeah.
Alexa, where should I go to dinner tonight?
Yes, exactly. And
sometimes it might be helpful, though.
It is. I can see.
How long does it take us to decide?
Problem. It has inherent helpful properties. Like, it's supposed to make your life easier, and I think it really is.
Oh, my gosh, but that's not making your life easier. It's making you brain dead.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing.
It's Skynet.
This is an excerpt from the article, Is Alexa Dangerous, from The Atlantic. It says, gifted with the once uniquely human power of speech, Alexa, Google Assistant, and Siri have already become greater than the sum of their parts. They're software, but they're more than that. Just as human consciousness is the effect of neurons and synapses, but it's more than that. Their speech makes us treat them as if they had a mind. The spoken word proceeds from the human interior and manifests human beings to one another as conscious interiors, as persons. The late Walter Ong wrote in his classic study of oral culture, orality and literacy. These secretarial companions may be faux conscious non-persons, but their words give them personality and social presence. And it's something I hadn't thought about, because even even as a kid, like you could make your computer do the dictation thing, and it would read back to you in this weird, you know what I mean? Like, so I kind of grew up not really thinking that speech and communication, language, you know, those things were uniquely human, but they are. And now, and now, that's a good point, because the line really is being blurred. Not really in the Hollywood sci-fi horror way that we thought, where robots will take over the world.
Not yet.
But you know that's always like step one. Like the robot becomes sentient in the movie, right? And then it immediately gets a weapon and wants to take, right? You see what I'm saying? But that's not step one in real life. In real life, it becomes an equal.
Yes.
It becomes like a person. It's almost like, it's like sleeper cells, you know, like you're supposed to blend in first, and then at some point it's too deep and it's too rooted in there for you to just be able to pluck it out. It becomes part of society, and then what? I don't know. I'm not saying there's a robot. I'm not saying Alexa takes over the world. I'm just saying that it's tricky, very, very tricky business when human beings start treating non-human beings as persons. It's very, very weird. I think there's a lot of morality,
ethics. Yeah,
there's
for
ethics
sure.
there.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily that I'm of the opinion that it is going to be Terminator.
Sure, no,
where the
so
robots take over the world.
I don't want to see naked Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I think it's the extreme opposite of that.
Okay.
I think society becomes so dependent on technology that there will be a day when the technology crashes and people don't know how to
Survive.
survive
function,
without it.
Yeah.
Like right now, if your phone didn't work and you had to go from here to a place you've never been before, could you get there?
Personally? Are you asking? Is that rhetorical? Or are you asking seriously?
Yeah, I'm asking seriously.
Yeah, I could do it.
You can
But-
navigate a map.
Yeah, because when I was a kid, but here's the caveat. Because when I was a kid, I didn't have a smartphone, and I wasn't that wasn't a thing. We didn't have
Right.
GPS, so Mom and Dad kept maps stuffed in the back of the minivan seats, and I would, on family vacations, go to Florida. I would try and get Dad to go a different way because I thought it would be faster. So I learned the map.
Yes. But most people can't do
But
that.
now, see, especially children now, if you're born now, there's
Yeah.
no hope for you to learn a map.
Shit,
Why would you?
I know
Why would
somebody
you?
a year younger than you that couldn't get from here to.
And-
I know
and-
tons
and
of people that
it
can't
does
do
depend.
it, dude.
It does depend on where.
Depends
but
on the
what I'm
purpose.
saying is, like, yeah, back then there was less option for you to not learn.
Yeah, you
there was
have
more
to learn.
opportunity for you to learn.
Oh, yeah.
Now there's no reason. There's no motivation to learn it.
I mean, you're the oldest one here, and that's just a fact. I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of remember, but I wasn't old enough to drive by the time. You know, I still had MapQuest at that point. I could still print out point by point directions. What was it like before that? I mean, you just have to get point by point directions, I guess. I would think.
Well, I've been through all the evolutions.
Yeah.
So where you take a map and you literally get the map out and you look at it.
Right.
You know, and you follow along. Oh, there's that road.
Yeah.
There's that road. Let's turn on the next road.
Right.
To, MapQuest on the computer, you print out the point by point
Like
directions.
10 pages of directions
To get across the street.
I know.
But now we didn't go a lot of places either when I was young. So I mean, I didn't navigate large distances because we didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But not even to that effect. That's not really where I learned to read maps. I mean, because that was always pretty easy compared to the context in which I learned to read maps, which was they take you out in the woods,
Yeah.
they hand you a map and say, "Where are you?" And you have to look at the map and you have to find that point and then find them on the map.
Yeah, now that's
Yeah.
tough.
Draw an intersection back to
Right.
where you
That's
are.
tough.
To get back to the container with all the hidden supplies for the apocalypse, right?
So no, but I mean, that's
Just kidding.
But I was taught in an era where
Sure.
those things were skills that, and I'm not that old,
No.
Right.
but in my life, those were necessary elements that I needed to know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
it's-
still have those skills. Most people don't.
It's crazy, though, to think you're, 7 years older than me, I think?
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that from you to me, like, I mean,
But it's also environment too, though.
true.
Where
Yeah.
you grow up and how your parents lived, that kind of stuff. That all counts in.
Sure.
I'm just saying that now, even if a parent is more inclined to be a hunter or something, go in the woods, the technology has outpaced that so much.
Well, now you
that
have
it's
cameras
like,
in
well,
the
you
woods.
just-
Now you have cameras in the woods, right?
You know what I mean?
have cameras
just map
at your
it.
corn
And so
feeder.
it's like
Well, yeah. I mean, I have a GPS now.
your phone just does it.
Yeah, I mean, I have. Well, there's a lot of places that your phone doesn't work.
Yeah.
but your
Right.
GPS does.
Yep. Right. If
So-
you don't know that is a life pro tip.
Now, I do remember
Your GPS will work
as a
without
kid,
cell service.
going out in the woods.
Yes, but not as accurately as an actual handheld
Right.
GPS
Right.
unit.
With the antenna on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure you remember this going out in the woods as a kid. You just wander in these huge acres and acres of woods, and you find your way back by what? Landmarks. I mean, you wouldn't have a GPS, and you're right.
remember.
That is something now. And I use my GPS almost all the time, not because I don't know how to get somewhere, but for traffic. Like right now, there's a beer truck overturned on 985.
Oh, yeah.
And if I didn't put that on my phone and we got
You
on
wouldn't know.
985, we would be stuck for.
Yep. And you know what really, really is impressive to me? We were talking about previous.
Speaking of, because we have an appointment, we need to
Yeah, we
take that
do
into
need to-
consideration that we probably
need to
need
wrap
to
up.
wrap this
But
up.
really quick before we close, we were talking about presidents that made huge, giant changes in course, right?
Yeah.
I think Eisenhower is monumental. I mean, he did a lot of things, but the interstate system, actions and how to get somewhere, that's just a small one thing. Like if you were saying, if you become more and more dependent on even more things in your life for an assistant to do that for you through your phone or through your Alexa or whatever it is, Echo or whatever it's called.
Yeah, let's just say there's no more YouTube. There's no more access to the internet.
Yeah.
And you have to take this food. It's not in a box. It's not processed.
Yeah.
It's raw food. And you have to take that and make it into a palatable dish.
Uh-huh.
How many people can do that now?
Oh, dude. I mean, I can now because I've spent enough time following recipes and I understand kind of, how
Right.
things should go together. But if you hadn't ever done that,
Right.
I mean,
Well,
if you-
what would this show be like without the internet? We couldn't pull up all these random
wouldn't-
stories.
wouldn't
I mean,
exist.
But the show wouldn't exist. We wouldn't
Yeah.
have anybody to talk to.
true.
It'd be us sitting in a room talking.
We'd have to get a radio wave.
which is what it was before it was a show.
We're gonna have to get
Yeah.
a radio tower up top just in case. But we got to go because
Yeah, we do. Hey, if you've been with us on Third Thoughts, we appreciate that. If you've been listening live on Spreaker, we appreciate that a lot.
Learn
If
to
you-
use it.
Buy a map. Learn to use your map. Just make sure it's not edited in any way. Make sure you get a trustworthy map. Hey, we appreciate you. If you're listening later on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening, leave us a comment or a review. That helps us out the most. Look, we'll be live again. We'll be live again on Monday for Third and Long for the sports podcast. If you're interested in that, we'll be back with you next Wednesday at the normal time. Actually, stay tuned for the time next Wednesday. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm taking a trip to Washington, D.C., so I will be out that way. May do a special on-site show next week. Who knows? Third Thoughts Network is always cooking something up. We'll be back with you on Monday, though, to talk about sports and all things football. Look, we appreciate you. And until next time,